So from the end user experience, this is going to be a pretty seamless experience. So if a user is ever assigned an assessment, they are also going to receive an email that is going to go to either their company email, their personal email, whatever is designated. But for those that are our employees, they are able to log into Pinnacle Series and access their KnowledgeSmart trophy to see any assessments that they've been assigned. Essentially, a user can come out here and select that new assessment. It will pass them through to KnowledgeSmart without even having to log in. They can download their exercise files and start that assessment. So it is a seamless pass through for them. There is no need for them to even need to log in outside unless they want to use the credentials that are in the email that was sent to them. In addition, if they do start and stop an assessment, they can come to an in-progress assessment and come out and check that out. And they also have the flexibility to see any completed assessments, what their scores were, and if they opt to select enroll in training, if they had not already been enrolled in training, they will be prompted to enroll. So they have that flexibility to self-assign any custom or personalized learning in this experience. Now, as an end user, anything that is a result of a KnowledgeSmart assessment is going to be denoted by a KnowledgeSmart trophy here. So you can tell that this is a result of an assessment. Users are going to be essentially having a reduced learning experience. They are only going to be spending time training on the things that they don't know instead of spending time training on the things that they do know. So in this drawing objects specific course, I can go ahead and toggle on show all topics, and I can see everything that I have successfully passed out of, that I am proficient in, and I no longer need to spend time training on. Now, in addition, users do have the flexibility to opt to personalize their learning experience. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to come out here to Revit and I want to personalize my learning experience. Essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the learning path that I want to personalize. So I'm just going to come down here to getting started with architectural modeling. And I'm going to select enroll in all. And what this is going to prompt me is the ability to self-assign myself an assessment. These fundamental assessments and advanced assessments are going to be hour-long sessions for these users. They're going to choose either imperial or metric, and then they can begin their assessment if they want to, or they can come back to it at a later date. So this is something that organizations have the opportunity to turn on if they want their users to have this as an option. Organizations can also choose to have it turned off and only have assessments be assigned from their managers, okay? So from the end user experience, they are really only going to be needing to access their KnowledgeSmart assessments here within their KnowledgeSmart trophy or the personalized learning experience within their courses, okay? Administrative perspective. So organizations have the ability to assign out assessments within their learning assessments and assignments area in their management utility. And so with this integration that we are essentially pulling through, they can actually come out here and navigate to the KnowledgeSmart tab, and they can assign out their assessments, they can manage completed assessments, and they can see any currently assigned assessments. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to pick on Ben here. I can see, hey, he has an in-progress assessment, but we did not assign an expiration date. You can actually modify, do any of the changes that you need to in terms of the due date for that assessment here. But in terms of assigning out assessments, essentially an administrator is going to be able to see anything that has a KnowledgeSmart trophy associated with it is going, so these are all assessments. Anything that has a trophy associated with it is going to have a personalized learning path mapped to it. So if I were to jump down to Revit for this discussion, I can come and see advanced electrical MEP. I'm going to go ahead and add that assessment. I'm going to hit select. And then from here, I can opt to add my users. And so these are going to be any users that exist within that particular platform. And then you can actually opt to search by an individual user name, or you can search by a specific MEP group in this instance to allow out for mass assigning. So there's that flexibility. There is also the option to import a selection of users. So if that is going to be something that's easier for a particular organization, they do have that flexibility to do so. Now, down below here, the administrator is going to be able to see what the assessment is, what training templates are being assigned. They can opt to override a specific training template if they so choose. They can set an expiration date for the assessment, they can also toggle on for that personalized learning to be assigned. So if this is ever left untoggled, essentially what that means is that user is only going to take the assessment and they are not going to be assigned any learning. Now, let's say, for instance, an organization wants to take this one step further and establish thresholds or bands. Essentially, what this is allowing for is, in this instance, let's say a user scores above an 80 on their assessment. Essentially, what that's saying is, as an organization, they deem that a user that scores an 80 or above on our assessment is considered proficient in that particular topic. So what that means is, even though this is toggled on to assign personalized learning, that user will not be assigned any learning as a result. Now, if that instance is where that user scores below a 30, ultimately what that means is that user is going to be assigned the entire learning path because that organization has determined that that is what is needed for that particular user to upskill based on that particular product. All right. Managing of completed assessments. Again, this is where you're going to be able to see that you do need to access the administration dashboard in KnowledgeSmart to access results, but you can see any assessments that have been assigned out to users, what their status is, whether they're an employee or an interviewee. And as you scroll across for specific users, you can see in this case, Allison does require training, but she has not been assigned any. You can choose to push out training here and assign that personalized learning to them. You also have the ability, if there were any interviewees here, I don't believe I have any, but if there were, you have that flexibility here to convert that interviewee over into an employee. So essentially what that allows for is when that employee comes into the organization on day one, they are able to take the personalized learning that was a result of their express assessment by converting them over. So it's taking all of that information that was gathered from that assessment and allowing them to upskill on those identified skills gaps. So there is that flexibility within the solution. I just really want to highlight here for a moment just the Power BI dashboard that is associated with this particular KnowledgeSmart feature. So just kind of giving you a glimpse of what's being provided. So as an organization, they are going to get access to their own dashboard that's going to include their employee names. It's going to be able to include job titles, and then each organization has the flexibility to establish data fields. So in this instance, an organization had established office location, the sector that they're servicing, I think the hire date was what this one was, and then the years of service, and then what other projects that they have worked on. And so as an organization is taking a look at this, they can take an in-depth analysis of in this case, invite history. So who's completed an assessment, who's got stuff in progress, who's not started. And you can just take a further depth look at that. But you can also see who and what users are needed for priority development, who your star users are, as well as where they're ranking in terms of average time and average score across your organization. Now, one of my favorite analysis is going to be this training tag analysis. So what this ultimately allows for is for your BIM managers and your leaders of your organization to see where common pain points are at in terms of commonly missed questions in this particular case. So you can see based on this training tag that work sharing is a pain point, drawing files are a pain point, export issues are a pain point just by this particular Power BI dashboard. And so from a training perspective, you can either assign them out additional training within the platform, or it's a really good indication on where you should have potentially some live instructor-led sessions, just kind of addressing where those pain points are lying and allowing your teams to upskill. So this is a really good indication. So just kind of giving you a visual of how that Power BI analysis does come through. Here on your screen is going to be the administration dashboard. So this is going to be for administrators or line managers that are interested in learning more about their end users' results, as well as assigning out assessments. And so from here, you'll be able to see that there's essentially three areas and aspects to KnowledgeSmart. It's going to include the assessment and test area. It's going to include a survey option. And then we also have a skills audit option. Now on the home page here, it is going to be just a snapshot of the data analysis that's being conducted within the solution, as well as users are going to be able to export this information to a Power BI template for further analysis. So I just really wanted to highlight that that is going to be a resource that all clients will have access to. I'm going to skip the invites area. Essentially, we do all the inviting and all those key pieces within the management utility. And then within the results area here, organizations, specifically the administrators, are going to have access to see how their users are interacting within a specific assessment. So in this case, if I were to jump into this user, I can see his report summary, what the assessment was, how long it took him, and then from here, I can see how he scored on individual questions. So in this case, he missed this question. I can see what the user was asked, how the user answered, and then I can also provide coaching notes to that user so they understand and can remedy any error in their thought process when it comes to functioning within their project work. Now, organizations do have the flexibility to turn off this summary if they don't want their users to receive an email with it. They can have only partial information shared with them. Again, this information is set within the settings, so that customization piece just getting started, and then from there. Now, for those administrators that are very ambitious and self-driven, there are resources in here for them to be able to access if they're interested in customizing assessments and that sort of thing. So very high level in terms of the test and assessment portion of this. From here, I'm actually going to transition